So, so welcome to the second session. I'm William Turpin. I teach at Swarthmore College, and I'm a classicist, and I know nothing about Abelard except what I learned for this class. I never know how we know how to go because we all have different configurations.
I think so.
So, Mona, tell us who you are.
Okay, this is section 6.2. Okay. Et quoniam de universalibus in hoc ipso praecipua semper est apud dialecticos quaestio. And since praecipua, since the principal quaestio, the principal disputed point among either dialecticians or logicians, in hoc ipso, in this matter itself, is always about universals. Actanta etiam Porphyrius quoque in Isaugis suis, de universalibus scriberat, definiri non presumerat dicens, altissimum enim est huius modi negotium. This, and it's so important or so great that Porphyry also, in Isagogi Suis, in his own Isagoge, or in his own introduction, when he was writing about universals, non presumerat dicens, it did not presume to interpret or define them, saying, for a matter of this sort is very profound. Cum hanc ille correxerit, immo coactus dimiserit sententiam, when that man, referring again to his teacher, William of Champeaux, corrected immo coactus, or rather, having been compelled, in parentheses, by Abelard, having been compelled, abandoned this opinion or this position. In tantum lectio eius devoluta est negligentiam, his teaching fell or devolved into so much carelessness, ut jam ad cetera dialecticae vix admitteretur, that like now he is scarcely acknowledged, or was scarcely acknowledged with respect to ad cetera dialecticae, with respect to all the other, I guess, issues of dialectic. Quasi in hac scilicet de universalibus sententia toto huius artis consisteret summa. As if the entire substance of this art consisted at, namely, in this opinion, de universalibus, concerning universals or on universals.
Yes, very good. One thing I think that is true is that negligentia doesn't mean his negligence, but other people's neglect of him. Even though it could mean what it's. I mean, your translation seems completely reasonable, but I think it means that they stopped going to his lectures.
Okay, yeah, because of him focusing on this issue.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think he just wasn't very good at it, right? Because he kept changing his mind, right? Help us out, Jameson. Right? Is that what's going on?
It certainly indicates. I mean, what comes at the end is that basically it seems as though people assume that the entire sort of substance of his, mastery of the material rested on this single opinion of his.
Right, and because he changed his mind, they kind of lost all respect for him. it is a great sort of picture of this kind of competition for students. It reminds me of the sophists and fighting it out for students too in these public displays in Athens. And if someone gets beaten, they kind of lose all their street cred. So it is kind of, it makes education much more exciting. Oh, we don't have Owen unless he's joined us. No. Owen signed up for 7.1. I knew we were missing somebody, or I had that. I didn't know.
Karen raised the question. She said, "I'm not sure that translation is consonant with the logic of de voluta est."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, can you explain that a little more, Karen?
Would you like to come online and explain it and translate? You've got 7.1 just sitting there open.
Oh.
No, she's not biting.
Looking at the logic of the ut clause.
All right, I'm looking at the logic of the ut clause.
A result that now he was scarcely punished.
That now.
A lot of it does hinge on how we translate admitteretur. I think is the idea.
Mm-hmm.
How can you explain that, Jameson?
Well, I think if it's the way you translated it again, I think it was as acknowledged, right?
Okay, as his teaching, the voluta est, became so devolved into so much carelessness or neglect that now what Vix admitteretur, that he was scarcely acknowledged, or maybe it was scarcely acknowledged with respect to all the other areas or issues of dialectic.
Right, I took it to mean that nobody wanted to hear what he had to say about the other issues of dialectic. Since he couldn't do the main thing about universals, no one cared about what else he had to say.
I think that works even if you take lectio eos as the subject of admitteretur, which I think with the other, I mean, it's the same sort of meaning. Either it's his interpretation or it's him himself. Karen Ruff says, I tentatively buy that.
All right, well, let's call that a victory.
But yeah, I see it could be either way.
Right. And I guess maybe it also depends on whether negligentia surely can mean what Mona wants it to mean, namely he's being negligent.
Maybe because he's not thinking enough, or maybe because he's kind of avoiding.
Right, as opposed to people
focusing
not
on
paying attention to him.
Or both.
Okay. Well, since Karen tentatively accepts it, I think we can go forward. Jen, you know this is coming. If Karen's not going to join us, you want to read 7.1?
I'm happy to if Karen doesn't want to join us. All right. Hinc tantum robores et auctoritatis nostra suscepit disciplina, ut qui ante vehementius magistro illi nostro ad haerebant, et maxime nostrum infestabant doctrinam, ad nostras coniolarent scholas, et ipse qui in scholis pariasacae sedis magistros successerat nostro, locum nihil suum offeret. I'll stop there. For this reason, our teaching, i.e. my teaching, took on so much strength and authority that these who, but you never say that in English, those who before were adhering the more strongly to that teacher of ours, and who were detesting our teaching the most, that they flew over to our school. And the very man who who had succeeded, came afterwards to our teaching, in the school of the seat of Paris, offered me his place. Ut ibidem cum cateris nostro se traduret magisterio, ut ante suos ille et nostro magister floruerat. So that in the same place with the others, he was handing himself over to our teaching, where earlier that teacher both of him and me had flourished. Good?
Good.
Paucis ataque diebus, therefore within a few days, ibi me dialecticae studium regente, with me ruling the study of dialectic there, quanta invidia tabescere, quanto dolore aestuare coiperit magister noster. The more our teacher began to, oh, sorry, I should have finished that sentence. Non est facile exprimere, my bad. Sorry. It's not easy to express with what great envy our teacher began to grow weak, and with what great pain, grief, he began to boil, but like be emotionally overwhelmed. Nec conceptae miseriae aestrum Diu sustenens, and not putting up with the passion of the misery he had undertaken for a long time, calide agressus est me tungetiam removere. Cleverly, in a clever manner, he began to remove me, try to remove me or something, even at that time.
Karen had a comment. So easy to assume Ab is correlating again.
Yeah, he does it all the time, but this time it was not. It was an indirect question. That was, and I, just should have kept reading.
Okay.
Can I just say that I love how he calls him Magister Noster every time.
Mhm.
Always Magister Noster.
Do you think he's because he's being snarky?
Oh yeah, I mean clearly this is not his Magister. He makes that very clear.
But it was his magister.
Technically, but the point was that he was in every way the student
Oh, right.
of Abelard's mastery.
Right.
What he really wants,
You know,
what he really wants to say is not my magister.
I think so.
Right.
You can see where he infuriated people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Especially teachers. Nobody likes snarky students. All right. Great. Any questions? Anybody? All right. So we're at Greg. We're at 7.2. Oh,
Actually,
Brian. I'm sorry.
it's okay.
Brian.
All right, so this isn't as challenging, I think, as a previous passage. Et quia in me quid aperte agerat non habitat, and because he did not have anything that he could openly go against me.
Mhm.
He strove to snatch away my students to him. A golas offera molitus est.
Mhm.
Pessimis objectus criminibus. By throwing the wickedest charges in my teeth was one translation of objectus that I had. So kind of violent throwing of these charges, who to me had previously conceded this professorship. Alio quodam emulo meo ad officium eius substituto, and substituted a certain other rival of mine to the to his office or a professorship.
Right. You get that is another ablative absolute?
Oh,
Right.
I did, but then I forgot it when I was reading it.
That's okay. I mean, you don't have to translate ablative absolutes as ablative absolutes. You just have to know that they're ablative absolutes.
Is it typical to have it at the end of a sentence like that? The ablative is that okay? Is that like typical style or?
Well, aren't we told, Jen? Aren't we told that you're supposed to put ablative absolutes in the front of a sentence? It's preferred.
But it's definitely okay to put them, especially at the end.
People certainly do it.
Yeah.
There's
nothing wrong with these. The only problem with ablative absolutes you might see in even in classical Latin is sometimes people forget that it has to actually be absolute, meaning that it can't be grammatically related to any of the rest of the sentence. You'll see that there's Juvenal has a big problem with that. He frequently uses ablative absolutes that don't really stand up absolutely from the rest of the sentence, but the word order isn't really the problem. It's most common in the front, but definitely doesn't have to be.
Karen says ablative absolutes are normally scene setters, but it's not obligatory.
Mm-hmm. And she also doesn't like schola as student versus school of student. In case anyone cares, that's really more for me, I guess. I thought I found it in a dictionary and therefore believed it to be true, but
Maybe it's just sort of metonymic. School and students are sort of interchangeable, maybe, because the school is the students.
right. Okay, great, Brian. Do you want to keep going?
I will forge ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Tug ego melidunum reversus scholas ibi nostras sicut antia constitui. So then I returned to Melodon, just as before, set up a school, our school there. Et quanto manifestius eius me persequator invidia, and the more flagrantly his envy his envy pursued me, or tanto mihi auctoritatis amplias conferabat, the greater the authority that was bestowed upon me.
Mm-hmm.
Iuxta illud poeticum, in accordance with that poet or the poetics, poetry. I'm not sure what poeticum is translated as, actually. Poetic phrase, summa petit livor perflant altissima venti. And this is my go at it. Melis seeks the highest, but the wind blows it, I guess, this person higher. I was trying to, it's feminine, so I wasn't sure what summa and altissima refer to exactly.
So livor just means envy, right? So the first three words means envy seeks the high places, right?
Okay, places. Okay, I was thinking of a high person, but it's high places. All right.
I think so.
Thank you. No, that makes more sense. I was trying to figure out why was it a masculine ending.
Right.
That places make more sense.
I think that's and then the second three words makes the same point, that the winds blow through the highest places.
So he's going to get blown off the peaks.
That the higher up you are, the more you get attacked.
Okay.
I see what you're. I see what. Good. Great. Yes, it's always. I mean, one of the hardest things for me always. You get a quick line of poetry just shoved in without any context, and it really puts you. It's almost the hardest. I'm so used to faking it by knowing what's going on that when you just suddenly have the poetry out of context, it gets really scary. Yes, Karen says tall poppy syndrome, which we can explain if anybody has to explain it. It's everybody knows about the tall poppies?
No.
No.
I can't tell the story off the top of my head. It's in Herodotus. Dictator. One dictator visits another dictator.
It's in Livy. It's
in Livy too, but Livy stole it from Herodotus.
Really? Oh,
I remember. Yeah, the long story.
It's from the Greek. Yeah, it's from the Greek dictator period in the
Period.
like
Is it
7th
period?
century Greece.
Right.
And one dictator, I forget which one it was, visited another one saying, I'm having a really large problem with rebellions and all this and stuff. And the other guy takes him out to a field full of wheat. And he says, you know what you're supposed to do? And he says, I have no idea. And he says, you see all these tall heads of the wheat, some are taller than others? And he says, yep. And he takes a scythe or sickle and he whacks off all the taller heads until everything's level. He says, that's what you do. It's basically, it's what Stalin did. It's basically anybody who has any talent or looks like they might remotely be a threat to you, you execute them.
Now, it's interesting. I was reading a travel book by the Polish writer Kapuscinski, I believe is his name, called Travels with Herodotus.
Mm-hmm.
And when you started telling the story, I recall that he mentioned it in terms of Poland's experience with Stalinism.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Stalin did it.
With, methods of absolute tyranny.
Right. In Herodotus, it's actually a subtler story because the messenger goes and the dictator takes the messenger out and doesn't say anything.
Right.
It may be that in Livy he says something, but in Herodotus he doesn't say anything. And the guy comes back and says, he didn't say anything. All he did was take me out to this field and chop off the heads of poppies. I don't know what the message was there. Right. So but it is definitely a thing.
He must be going to give him some opium.
Well, okay.
In Livy, it's the story of Sextus Tarquinius when he's at Gabii, and he's betraying them because he went and pretended that he'd been kicked out by his father, and then he was, ingratiating himself with all of the noble young men of Gabii, and at one point he's waiting for a message from his father, and the father sends the message. The messenger cuts the heads off the poppies, and he's like, now it's time, and that's when he murders all of the young men of Gabii, betraying them, and then turns the city over to his father before he, went home and raped Lucretia.
Right. Well, moving on. All right, so we're at 8 point. Any questions about that was great, Brian. So Victoria gets a longer passage, and I would take your advice on this of having how long the passages are, whether we should have more of them. I don't know. I'm just trying to do what fits in the time we have. So I thought a mix of longer passages and shorter passages might be helpful. Anyway, Victoria, you get a longer passage, 8.1.
Okay. Non multo autem post, cum ille intelligeret omnes fere discretos de religione eos plurimum hesitare. So not long after this, when that man realized, intelligeret, that nearly everyone was hesitating, had great hesitation about his religion, or had great doubt about his religion. Discretos, everybody individually, everybody separately. I wasn't coming up with ways to use the wise and prudent medieval Latin translation with that, but
I think
so everybody.
Discretos just means pretty much all the smart people.
Mm-hmm.
It's omnes feres discretos.
Okay.
Pretty much everybody with any sense.
All the wise people, not all, okay. Not all the separate people. All right.
I guess the fere goes with omnes, which is tricky.
Nearly everybody wise,
Right.
nearly all the wise people hesitated about his religion.
Mhm.
Et de conversione ipsius vehementer susare, and concerning his conversion, whispered vehemently, quad videlicet minime acuitate recescit, that verily, or that for sure, he had receded a very tiny way from civilization or from the city. Transtulit se et conventiculum fratrem conscoli suis ad villam quandam ad ab urbe remotam. He transferred himself and a small company of brothers with his students to a certain village far from the city. Statimque ego meliduno Parisius redii, pacem ab illo ulterius sperans. And immediately I returned from Melun to Paris, hoping from him peace at last, or far beyond, hoping for peace finally.
Yeah, I would have thought, I've got this weird gloss more than that. I would have thought it meant from now on.
From further on, okay.
From this point forward,
Forward.
that I'm hoping for peace.
At the last. Okay. Sed quia ut diximus locum nostrum ab emulo nostro feceret occupari extracivitatem in monte sancte Genovese scholarum nostrarum castra posui. But because, as I have said, our school, or our place, had been made to be occupied by our rival. And I think that is a pluperfect, yes?
Bakerat?
Yes.
Yes. But I think isn't the subject
It's William.
William?
Teacher.
Right. So William had made our place be occupied by our rival.
Which is not generally how you say that in classical Latin.
Okay. He had
that's what's wrong.
Occupied. Okay, but because, as I have said, he had made our place, to be occupied by our rival. Outside the city, at Mount St. Genevieve, I placed the camp of our scholars, or our school. Quasi eum obsessorus qui locum occupaveret nostrum. Just as if I were occupying the place, just as if I were blockading the place which he had occupied.
Besieging. Obsidio, as though about to besiege.
As though about to besiege?
Yes.
Or for the purpose of besieging.
Obsidio.
For the purpose of besieging, okay.
Yeah, Karen notes that there's all this military language here, with the castra and the obsessorus.
And from here also, quo audito magister noster statim ad urbem impudenter rediens, scholos quas tunc habere poterat, et conventiculum fratrem ad pristinum reduxit monasterium, quasi militem suum quem dimiserat ab obsidione nostra liberaturus. Upon hearing this, or this being heard, our teacher, returning immediately and impudently returning to the city, the students or schools which he was able to have then, such students as he was then able to collect or have, and the assembly of brothers, he returned to the previous monastery, to the previous, monastery. Just as if his soldier or army or his military force, militem, which he had sent away, he was liberating, or he was after liberating from our siege.
Yes. I mean, that was a very Irish way of doing the liberaturos. Right? As though he were going to liberate his soldier whom he had left behind from our siege. So he's coming to the rescue, as it were, as Karen would say, again, with the military language. Good. One detail way back at the beginning, minime acuitate recessit. I mean, it does literally mean a little bit received, but it really means no way, not at all, right? So minime is just a very intense negative.
Where's that? Minime acuit. Okay, I see.
He had receded minimally.
Well, he just receded. I mean, but literally it means, I mean, that is what it means literally, but what he means is he didn't leave the city.
Okay.
Right. And isn't that right, Jen? Would you, the minime means that? It really means no way did he leave the city, rather than only a teeny tiny bit.
Yeah, it's like toadies.
Scarcely. Oh, Karen says scarcely.
For
Yeah.
me,
Oh, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
yeah. That's nicely
It's
ambiguous.
stronger than known, right? It's it gives a bit of force to it.
Right. Any other questions, comments? All right, we're at 8.2 and Paula has a longish chunk. I think the Latin does get easier, or at least you get used to it, but this is not easy stuff.
I have no idea. I just randomly picked it, and I'm sitting there going, why do I always pick these? What am I doing wrong?
I know. Well, you always feel you should translate it first and then pick the one you like, but I never do that.
I just pick it.
Pick one and hope for the best.
Yep.
Because the thing is, when I'm sight reading through it, it looks okay, and I dig into it, you know, to really go into it, and then, you know, when I'm thinking, oh, that was okay, and I'm like, oh no, this one's really hard. This other one was much easier, and I thought it wasn't.
We're here for you, Paula.
I know.
Yeah, but if you did that to all of them, you find out they're all that way. So that's why I just picked
some are
one.
easier than others. Yeah. I mean, actually, I thought this passage was somewhat easier than last week's, which was just kind of, I mean, we have high-level theology right alongside rather difficult Latin. Yay. Okay. Let me just get everything. So I've got my translation and my reading right here. Okay. Verum cum illi prodesse intenderet, but when he intended to be of use, maxime nocuit, he did the most harm.
Right, and he wanted to be of the most use illy to himself.
William, I saw your note on that. I don't think it is.
Oh, because it could be this. He could be the guy he's coming to the rescue of.
I think so. I think it's referring to that person that he was going to help and liberate.
That's how I translated it.
Yeah, I was wondering how many of these elays and ipses were truly reflexive.
Right.
Because he uses a lot of it for basically, you know, another person. This, you know, he's doing a lot of stuff that isn't strictly classical. So. Right.
Okay, no, that makes sense because in fact this whole paragraph is talking about this unnamed loser of a substitute teacher, right?
That sounded horrible.
Perditus was his name.
Okay.
He never names a substitute, does he?
That's why we have to. Perditus.
He's is he?
No, I'm going to make that up because I'm mean.
Okay. Keep going, Paula.
Okay. Ile quipe ante alikos discipolos habebat qualescunque maxime propter lectionem Christiani. Excuse me. Indeed, he, after he had the other disciples, and with what kinds the most near the reading of Christianus?
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Antea is before.
Oh,
Right.
sorry.
So
Yeah,
that
it is before.
So that guy, to be sure, before had some students, right? Qualis cumque, and that qualis cumque I think is kind of vague, and I should have glossed it. Some students, sort of some students, whatever, you know, you might call them students, right? Some so-called students
Of whatever sort.
of whatever sort, students because of, right? This is why he had some students, however pathetic they were. He had some students, particularly because of his reading of Priskin, right? So he could always get some, in the past, he'd been able to get some people to come to his lectures because he was good at Priskin, or he knew about Priskin.
Okay. Now, quales cumque?
Yes.
What is that? I mean, I kind of and with what times?
Qualis cumque means of whatever sort, right?
Of whatever sort.
Of whatever sort.
Okay.
And I'm taking it as to be kind of dismissive. He's got some students such as they were.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. All right. In qua plurimum valera credibatur, cat, you're getting on my nerves, in which he was believed to be worth many things.
Yes, plurimum, a lot, right? Just
a lot, yeah.
Or
in
the
which
most.
he was right, the most. He was believed to be the best possible teacher of Priskin, right?
Okay.
So that's why he had some students. Good.
Okay. All right. Oops. Oops. There we go. Postquam autem magister advenit. Keep forgetting you're late in the medieval. But after the master arrived, omnes penitus amisit. He completely lost everyone.
Yep.
Et sic regimine scholarum what is it? Caesare compulsus est. And thus from the governance of scholars or the school, yes, I heard that debate, he was compelled to cease.
Mm-hmm. Kesso to yield, maybe? Kesso.
Okay.
Does it mean
Retire, maybe?
Yeah.
That could be, yeah. Fall away.
I can't remember. Does Kesso mean cease?
Cease work, something like cease work.
Cease work, to leave off.
Well, he ends up in a monastery, so I figured it was basically he has to stop teaching.
Right.
Yeah, it can mean to cease or stop.
Good. Okay.
I'm gonna rescue my mouse from this cat. Okay, here we go. Sorry.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. She's kind of an old ex-feral cat. She wants what she wants, and when she wants a head scratch, she doesn't take no for an answer. Okay. Nec post multum tempus, nor after much time, quasi iam ulterius de mundana desperans gloria. Now, as further away, despairing of mundane glory.
Of worldly glory. And I take it that ulterius means more, despairing of any more worldly glory.
Yeah, because the despairing is nominative, and I'm like, okay.
Right. So despairing about mundana gloria.
Okay, about mundane glory.
More mundane, about mundane glory more, right? In other words,
Right.
This is as good as it gets in his career.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
I think you take the Alterius with the Yam, like now further, like from he's not going to get any glory from now on.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Okay, so he's moving away from the glory, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's because he's just not cool anymore now that Abelard's on the scene.
It is interesting, by the way, to notice that you could actually have mundane glory, worldly glory, by teaching Latin grammar, right? It's not something that we normally think of as leading to mundana gloria. But
I gotta be honest. Even though I am no fan of Bernard, I gotta say, Abelard is kind of lucky he got off with just getting castrated and accused of heresy.
Oh, Margaret Henderson asked any suggestions about why the word order is De Mundana Desperans Gloria.
Yeah, so I was wondering, because the Desperans, which is nominative, is right smack in the middle of, what is that, an ablative phrase? I mean, that was kind of weird.
right, I think it's just clever, artistic.
Okay. He's out clevering himself. Okay.
He does it a lot throughout the text. He likes to separate these sort of noun-adjective pairings into, you know, bracketing these long sort of, in this case, it's a participle, but
Right.
he likes
Yeah.
it.
Good, keep going.
Okay. Ipse quoque ad monasticum conversus est vitam.
Mm-hmm.
By each one to the monastic life he was turned.
Wait a minute, what? Odd.
Oh, sorry, quoque. I'm sorry, I forgot to change that with quoque.
He himself also, ad monasticum, was converted to the monastic life.
Okay.
People laugh at me, but I swear to God, people confuse ad and ob because D and B in lowercase are exactly the same, only backwards. And they're so fundamentally different. We know they're fundamentally different, and people confuse them anyway. It's a kind of weird universal dyslexia. Right?
William, I have to say that makes me feel so much better that you're saying that, because my students confuse them all the time, and I spend so much time going, ob is from, odd is to. That's not. Why are you picking them up in Latin for?
And you can
He goes to the monastery. He doesn't leave the monastery. He's going to a monastery. Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And you can use 20 derivations. They all know that odd means towards, right? Everyone knows, right? It's just, and I write it on the board and they laugh at me. They deny that that's what's going on, but I'm sure that's what's going on. It's just, it makes total sense to me. Anyway, keep going, Paula.
Okay, so post reditum vero magistri nostri ad urbem. Indeed, after the return of our master to the city, quos conflictus disputationem scholares nostri tam cum ipso quam cum discipulis eis habuerint. Okay. Now this one I found really confusing, I gotta admit.
Yeah.
The argument, so scholars who were having a dispute with us, now with him or his disciples.
So I would start with quos conflictus and just wrap your mind around the accusativeness of that. As for which conflicts, right, of disputations, our scholars, both with him and also with his students, were having.
Okay.
Right, which is really a hard group of words to keep in your head and have make any sense.
Yeah.
That's what Abelard has said, right? You can I've rewritten it all out in a much more normal way, which you can do, but theoretically we're supposed to be able to say, as for those conflicts and disputation that our scholars had both with him and with his students, as for them, direct object.
Yeah.
And as for the events, wait a minute, and what events fortune gave in our wars,
The outcomes.
I'm not sure.
I
Right.
haven't read that.
Okay. Also in the accusative,
Uh-huh.
namely to me, myself. Wait, what does this mean? In our wars, and also to me, myself, in them. And then you get the verb, he taught, wait a minute, the thing itself long ago has taught you too.
Like the facts kind of.
The person I'm writing the letter to. You knew this long ago, right?
Mhm.
That's the best
Yeah.
I can do. I should have let Jen handle it.
Race could be story, race ipsa, the story or the fact itself.
How are you translating Dudum?
Long ago.
Dudum is long ago.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's we're getting where you with me.
I can't hear you very well. Okay.
Feedback.
Okay.
Dudum is more commonly in classical Latin. You'd have yam dudum now for a long time, but it's often they drop the yam. So it just means a long ago. And the one other thing that's tricky about that, of course, is the sudden injection of the recipient of his letter. So suddenly he's just saying, by the way, you've known this all along. And we kind of forgotten that he's writing a letter to somebody, but he is. So I don't know if that's that's part of the problem. It's a very complicated sentence.
Yeah, it's like, I'm reading and I'm like, okay, I get that Abelard scholars are having a dispute with this other guy's, disciples. But he's making it really complicated.
Yeah, he's basically saying, like, you know what happened, you don't need me to tell you. That's kind of what
Right.
he means here.
But I'm going to tell you anyway.
But I'm
We've got
a couple of things about that nostri, the nostris emo mihi ipsi. I think that's nostris discipulis or scholaribus or something. That what outcomes Fortune gave to our students, no, rather to me myself.
Oh, right, yeah.
And Margaret had asked about, I think, habuerent. It's not future perfect indicative. It's the thing that looks like the future perfect indicative, but isn't. It's a perfect subjunctive and an indirect question. So the thing itself has taught you what conflict they had.
Yeah. Is it no, that's not a cum clause, that's
It's an indirect question.
Clause, isn't it? Yeah.
So the quos is the question word. So quos conflictus, what conflicts habuerent they had. So the matter has taught you what conflicts they had would be like the really short version of this super long sentence.
Right. Thank you.
And so it's subjunctive and an indirect question, which you just translate like an indicative in English. We don't use subjunctive there.
So
translate exactly the same.
Yeah, you translate it as though it said habuerent, basically.
What would we have had? Yeah.
Meanwhile, we've had a more literary discussion in the chat about the military imagery. There is a dispute about whether it's what you might call serious or whether Abelard is being playful, right? Similarly with the thing we're about to get with his invocation of Ajax, whether he's taking himself very seriously as Ajax or whether he's teasing us. And there's simply a flat out debate among the Abelard scholars that I've read. And I think Clancy kind of ends up shrugging his shoulders. He's not quite sure really how to take it. And I have to say, I think it's more fun, actually, don't you, if it's playful, if he's sort of saying, well, I'm having this real war against the grammarian, and I left, my citadel of grammar teaching. But it's perfectly possible that he's so self-absorbed and so self-important that he thinks this is how you talk, that he's really conducting a war with the world. So it's hard to know.
Well, and the students of the time were fairly disreputable people. I mean, they would get into actual physical conflict.
Right. So
It was almost like gangs.
clearly being a successful teacher is a big deal at the time, and I don't mean to take that away from him.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you want to keep going, Paula?
Yep.
Illud Vero.
Okay. So Illud Vero Iacus ut temperantius loquar audacter profera. Indeed, like the word of Ajax, in order that I speak temperately, I will boldly pronounce si queritis huius, if you ask of this, fortune pugnae non sum superatus ab illo. Fortune in battle, I'm not greater from it.
By him. I haven't been conquered by him.
Okay.
And the pugne, remember, is pugnae. If you ask what the fortune of this fight was, here's the answer: I wasn't defeated by that guy. So it is kind of cute.
An argument for wit on the side of humor here. Note that he says, "I'm going to use Ajax's words so that I might speak more temperately about this."
Right.
I thought that, well, that's a little odd considering Ajax, but
Killed himself.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
again, Clancy suggests that maybe he doesn't. He only knows fragments of this literature, and therefore he doesn't even actually understand who Ajax was, which I find sort of takes a lot of the fun out of it. But
Is that true?
what do you mean? Is it true?
Well, is it true that he wouldn't have known the fate of Ajax?
That's what Clancy suggests. I mean, then Karen says that seems unlikely, so you have your choice, right?
I
Clearly,
think that's a tough one because Ajax's suicide, isn't that in the cycle, the lost cycle of epics between Iliad and Odyssey?
yeah, but more importantly, it's in the it's in Ovid, which is where what he's quoting. But the question is whether he was curled up with the whole story, or according to Clancy, he's just got these little fragments of story that he's got from little commonplace books. But anyway.
If you look at that quote, there's nothing about it that isn't a very modest statement. I mean, he's right. It sounds temperantia. So I don't know. I feel like I just never want to give Abelard the benefit of the doubt that he's not just horribly self-absorbed and completely misses everything. So maybe I'm being unfair.
I mean, he can be both, right? I mean, the fact of the matter was he was horribly self-absorbed and turned off a lot of people. He was also incredibly charismatic, and his works were astoundingly popular after his life. I mean, these two things have to coexist. He could be hated by some people, not by others, I guess.
Sort of the seek at known approach to things, as he would have approved of.
I'm not sure he would be quite as popular, though, if it weren't for Eloise.
But he was clearly amazing anyway.
Yeah, but there were a lot of amazing guys in the Middle Ages that they aren't nearly as famous as Abelard.
Well, right. But anyway.
William, you're sending those only to me, your responses.
I am? Who was it? Well, so somebody in the chat says, I wonder if that's you, Jameson. I wonder.
No, that was Karen. That was Karen.
Oh, I get so confused. All right. So Karen says, I wonder if the context of contending for the arms of the greatest warrior is significant. And she says, ooh, I definitely like this.
No, I wrote that part.
Okay. Oh, I see. I'm obviously not good at this.
I was trying to sort of retweet it. It didn't really work.
I'm no good at that. I can't read those conversations that people have online when they get it and they argue each other in the comment section. I can never figure out who's arguing with who. Anyway, all right. So then Mona.
I'm not quite done.
Oh, all right.
That one more line. I know the poetry gets confusing. Quod si ego taceam, or taceam, because if I am silent, res ipsa clamat, the thing itself cries out. And ipsius rei finis indicat. And the end declares itself from the thing.
I think the end of the thing itself
Okay.
Revealed.
tells you all you need to know, I guess. Indicat
Points out.
points it out.
But rei,
Ipsius rei, both genitive singular.
okay.
The end of the thing itself.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Yep.
The beginning of that line, the quad C means but if. It's actually something I'd probably put a note on.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'm so used to it.
Yeah, but students aren't, so it always means, almost
But
always
if,
means
right.
but if.
Anyone puzzled? Shall we leave the question of his quotation of Ovid? Well, let's see what Mona was saying. Mona says, and the Ajax, the Victorian one, is the one who actually is not eloquent enough to get the arms. Was it eloquence or was it physical prowess?
I can't remember.
Well, he was up against Odysseus, so I think eloquence is probably what won out.
Yeah, maybe. Right.
In Metamorphoses, it's eloquence, right?
Odysseus tricked him, basically.
I'm sorry, what?
Odysseus tricked him, basically.
In the Metamorphoses?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how he did it, but he basically talked everyone else into choosing him.
Right.
Over Ajax, and Ajax was kind of the big dumb blonde guy who couldn't match Odysseus's eloquence and wit and trickery.
Right. Right. So you're right. It seems like that should be relevant. Right. The context of eloquence in debate over past prowess. All right. Okay. Onward to 9. Bob, you've been very patient all this time.
Okay. Dum vero haec agarantur, carissima mehe mater mea Lucia repatriare me compolit. Moreover, while these things were being done, my mother Lucia, most dear to me, compelled me to return to Brittany. Quae videlicet post conversionem Berengarii patris mei ad professionem monasticam idem facere disponebat. After the conversion of my father Berengar to the monastic calling, she arranged to do the same thing.
Good.
Quo completo reversus sum in Franciam, maxime ut divinitate adiscaram, quando iam saepifatus magister noster Wilhelmus in episcopatu Cataloniensi polebat. Which thing having been done, I returned to France, especially to learn also about theology. When already our master, the often mentioned William, was predominating as the bishop of Chalon. In hoc autem lectione, magister eius Anselmus Ladunensis maximum ex antiquitate auctoritatem tunc tenebat. In this teaching, his master, Anselm of Leon, was maintaining then the greatest authority from time immemorial.
Good. Before we go forward, polebat, I think just means he was in charge as the bishop of Chalon, right? And so that's just a grammatical point, which I think that's right, or lexical. But what I don't know, and I don't know why I didn't worry about it before, is what is the logic there? He decides, he says, I'm going to come back to France, above all to study divinity, since my teachers in Chalon, now my former teacher, who he had ended up fighting with, my logic teacher is now Bishop of Chalons, is somehow the reason that he's decided to go and study theology with Anselm. Does anyone understand the logic?
My impression was that he wasn't. Well, he doesn't say, of course, that he left because William was, winning the fight, obviously. But he did leave, and he comes back when William's gone. I thought it was saying that, it was okay to go back into Paris now because William had left.
Because he's not there anymore. Because he's not in Paris, so it's okay to go to Paris. Thank you. I like that. I mean, I guess in Paris. It's still weird that he just suddenly says, okay, so now I'll study theology, right? After not having worried about that before.
But theology is the queen of the sciences, so I guess.
Right. I'm not sure it was then, although I suppose it must have been. Gwendolyn wants to talk more about Ajax. I think we should all go away and think about Ajax and come back next week with our thoughts clearer than they, at least my thoughts are not as clear as they might be. Plus, just so you know, they turn off the air conditioning in the evening, so it's all kind of gross. So Bob, keep going. 10.1.
Okay. Akasi Dr. Advoxemen. Magas longavus usus, quam ingenium vel memoria nomen comparavarat. So I went to this old man, for whom more long-time experience, rather than talent or the ability to recollect, had acquired his reputation. Ad quem si quis de aliqua questione, usandum accederat incertus, redibat incertus. If anyone approached him knocking on the door, uncertain about some question, he was returning even more uncertain.
Yes, I'm going to put that on a t-shirt, right? I think or at least on the door of my office, right? I think the picture of this pathetic old professor who can't remember anything and didn't have any talent, but he does have a lot of experience, is just way too painful. Keep going.
Mirabilis quidem in oculis erat auscultantium, sed nullus in conspectu questionantium. Admittedly, to the eyes of the ones listening to him, he was miraculous, but worthless in the sight of the ones testing him with questions. Verborum usum habebat mirabilem, sed sensum contemptibilem et ratione vacuum. He had a marvelous use of words, but a contemptible meaning and empty of reasoning. And now we get some metaphors. Cum incnem accenderat donum suum fumo implebat, non luce illustrabat. When he lit a fire, a house filled with smoke, but did not illuminate with light. Arbor eius tota in foliis, aspicientibus a longe, conspicua videbatur, sed propinquantibus et diligentius intuentibus infructuosa reperiebatur. To the ones looking at him from afar, his tree appeared entirely covered in leaves and striking. But to the ones coming near and more carefully gazing upon him, or upon the tree, it was found to be without fruit.
Yes. Yes. It's all very sad. Any thoughts? I think that was all. You read very nicely, by the way, Bob. I think you've got a nice, I don't know, you found a nice place between sounding like an American and sounding like it's really a foreign language. It's very nice. Anyone have any thoughts? I seem to have a rather short assignment tonight.
Tonight?
I don't know. I don't know if that's bad or good. I think an hour. I mean, I'm sort of shooting for an hour and 15 minutes, but and I think last time we were over, and this time we're under, and I don't know.
All out in the wash.
Sorry.
All comes out in the wash.
You know, who knows? Plus, let's face it, none of it really matters. But anyway, thank you all. If people have insights over the week, please share them. And we'll be back next week, I guess.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good
Yes,
night.
thanks, everybody. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, a kitty.
Take care, all.